In this video we'll be discovering the spellcaster ability, the spell book, and going over some of the spells and how they may or may not help you in a combat environment. First up is to unlock this spellcaster ability you are going to need an intelligence of 50 or more. Once the intelligence hits 50, this gets shaded and this unlocks this spell book, and you can begin casting spells from your book. Until the spellcaster ability is unlocked, these are all locked. You can continue storing spells in them as you find them, but you just won't be able to use them. You might decide to temporarily boost your intelligence to unlock this, and that's fine. You can then cast the spells all the while that this is adjusted, but once it drops below 50, it's once again locked again. There's different ways that intelligence can be boosted. You might find it through the use of potions or brews, or even by equipment that you will store on your adventurer. The spell book works in a number of ways. As you find the spells, as we've already said, you keep adding them into this section here. You can add duplicate spells into this book, so we could have 2 clones, 3 clones, maybe 4 magic armors written in this. It all depends as you find them and how they end up getting added into this spell book. The decision that you need to make is where you will keep duplicate spells in the spell book. So for instance, if I had a couple more clones in here, and if I don't find that my adventure is using clone very much, I might decide that I'd want to free up that slot for a spell that I will be using a lot more, as it gives a good bonus to it. And so I'd probably sell that clone and keep the other 2 in the book until I needed the space and so forth. And you can manipulate the order in which spells are written in the spell book by that process. So duplicate spells will allow you to, in effect, move the position of the spells as and when you decide to sell them. There's a level range associated with the line and the slot that the spell is stored on. So in the instance of the first 5 spells, they come under the level range of 50 plus, so you need an intelligence of 50 or more to be able to use those spells. If you have an intelligence of 60 or more, then it will encroach into the next level and so on up to a level range of 100. And although these characteristics will max out at 80, there is a way that your intelligence or any of the others may be boosted over 80 to give it a value of 100 or more, and they get stored in these adjusted boxes, and they might be in the form of potions or equipment and so forth. The bonus that you get that's provided is a bonus to the spell check. So when you begin to start making casting spells, you will need to make a spell test. So the first process into casting a spell, you will need to pay its cost. So you would pay the spell cost, and then you would make your spell test. And we'll go into some of the details about the costs of spells in a bit. But the spell test is based on your intelligence plus or minus any of the spell bonus for the spell that you're using, and then you would apply any bonus that you get for your lucky skill or your magic skill. And so in the case of Sir James, who has an intelligence of 50, if we was going to cast a clone spell, we would add plus 20 to his intelligence to make 70, and then he's got the lucky skill, which is plus 5, so we'd add another 5, so that would be a total of 75 or less on the D100. We would first pay the cost, which would be 3 health points, and we deduct 3 health points from this section here, and then we would roll the dice. You always deduct the health points first and then roll the dice. We roll the dice, we've actually rolled 86, but if we had actually rolled 75 or less, the spell would come into effect, and whatever description was in the main rule book would then come into play, and you would follow the instructions from the spell description. Because we failed, when you do fail, you need to roll on the curses table, and you will suffer the penalty there that you actually end up rolling. So the spell cost, the way this works is there's two types of spell costs used in the game. There's a deduction of health points, and there's a deduction of strength points. Now the health points, when they get deducted, they get applied directly to the current section. So at the moment Sir James has got an adjusted health points total of 21. If he cast Clone, we would deduct 3 points, and so he would reduce down to 18. With strength, the way that works is it's a temporary deduction. It lasts for the entire quest, and it will reduce the adventurer's strength down by the value shown. There are 3 strength-based spells that will tax the adventurer's strength. They are -15 for resurrection, -10 for healing, and -5 for heal. And you would apply these modifiers into the adjusted area to remind you that the adventurer has suffered those penalties. And at the end of the adventure, once the quest has either been succeeded or failed, those would get removed along with the poison pips and keys pips in the clean-up phase.